Did you know, black women, that we were not granted the legal right to vote until 45 years after white women? In 1920, white women were given the right to vote. However, it took 45 years later, 1965, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, that black women finally had full protected voting rights. 45 years later. Let's get into it. Today's 10-minute workshop is titled, Are Black Women Really Free? And if so, how did we get that way? All right, so let's jump into it. Let's start from the beginning. When you talk about women's rights in America, we often hear about the suffragists like Susan B. Anthony's and Elizabeth Stanton's. But what about black women? When did we truly get our rights? The truth is, you all, black women in America have had to fight on two fronts: as black people facing racial oppression, and then as women facing gender discrimination. So the journey to full citizenship, voting rights, workplace equality, and bodily autonomy was long, complicated, and is still ongoing. So today, we're going to break it down. So let's just jump right into it. The first section, I'm talking about freedom wasn't freedom. From 1865 to 1870s. Let me start with the basics. I like to start with a foundation. Before 1865, we know this, black women, black people period, but black women in America had no rights at all. Enslaved black women weren't considered citizens, weren't protected under the law, and could be bought, sold, beaten, assaulted, and with no consequence to their oppressors. Them white people wouldn't suffer no consequence whatsoever. You can get out there and hang a black man in a minute, a slave, and you would not serve no time because you were property. Mm, mm, mm. The Civil War changes everything, kind of. Then came the Civil War and everything changed, at least on paper, right? After the North won the war, so then we have the 13th Amendment, right? 1865, abolished slavery. The 14th Amendment, 1868, granted citizenship to all people born in the United States, including black women. The 15th Amendment, 1870, gave black men the right to vote. But notice who was left out, y'all. Black women. So while black men were technically granted the right to vote, because we know, come on, with poll taxes and voter suppression and all that, it was damn near impossible for many blacks to vote in those times. But however, black women were still left in the dark, unable to participate in democracy. And even for black men, like I said, racist voter suppression in the South had the 15th Amendment almost meaningless and it just not even existent. So, next section, the fight for voting rights, 1920 and 1965. So, let's talk about the fight for women's voting rights. The 19th Amendment, which was in 1920, finally gave women the right to vote, right? Well, yes, but only white women. Black women in the South still faced what? Jim Crow, literacy poll taxes, um, violent intimidation at the polls, and everything. So black women were in the trenches fighting for both. Again, as usual, we're always fighting for something besides just our own rights, our own interest. We were fighting for what? Racial equality and gender equality. But white suffragists often ignored us. In fact, some white feminists argued that only educated white women should have the right to vote, leaving black women out of the conversation altogether. So it wasn't until the Voting Rights Act of 1965, 45 years after white women got the right to vote, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the act saying that black women finally had full protected voting rights. This law banned racist voter suppression tactics like literacy tests and poll taxes. So while white women got the right to vote in 1920, black women, especially in the South, had to wait another 45 years for their voting rights to be protected. 1965, y'all, was not that long ago. Hell, some of you all were born in 65, born in 60. Come on now. But oh, racism is gone. Okay, baby. Next section, we're going to talk about workplace and economic rights. Let's talk about work, first of all. Even after gaining citizenship and voting rights, black women still had a major barrier in the workplace. For most of American history, black women were limited to jobs like domestic workers, farm laborers, and of course, caretakers, right? The same kind of work they did under slavery, just with a different title, different label. So in 1964, the Civil Rights Act brings change. This was a game changer. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, which banned discrimination against based on race and sex in employment. And this is why diversity, equity, inclusion, and the disbanding of all that is like watching something that our forefathers fight so hard for be destroyed. Because the Civil Rights Act of 1964 banned discrimination based on race and sex in employment. And this was a huge victory for not just women, but definitely for black women, because it meant we couldn't be denied jobs just for being black or just for being women. And again, this is where the ignorance of so many MAGA and white Trump supporters, you thought getting rid of DEI was just hurting people, black and brown people, but it hurt you white women more than it hurt us. But let's be real, y'all. Just because something is legal, it doesn't mean it stopped happening, okay? You can say, oh, you had the right to vote, or you had the right we won't discriminate against you on your job. 1964, bam, no more discrimination. No, not how it happened. Even today, black women face wage gaps and workplace discrimination. So let's keep moving. Section 4, we're going to talk about the reproductive rights and protection from violence. So that was 1973 up until present day. In 1973, the Supreme Court ruled in Roe v. Wade that women had the legal right to abortion. This was important for all women. So I'm going to let y'all know. See, you all like to say that it's black women are getting all these abortions and Latino women. No, 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 no. Black and Latino women particularly, we be having our babies, the majority of us. The large percentage of abortions, statistics show, are from white women. That is why, see, that's why the growth, you all are becoming the minority. White folk are the minority now. You either stop having babies because of either career choices, getting married later in life, choosing career, or abortions. And now you got white men who are in power, afraid because now they begin becoming the minority, and that is why they want to make abortion illegal. It has nothing to do with black and brown people. It's all got to do with the white population and how they want y'all to populate more so you don't be the minority. All right, so let's keep going. Black women still have the highest rates of maternal mortality, and the fight for reproductive justice is ongoing. From 1994, the Violence Against Women Act was passed to help survivors of domestic violence. Black women have historically been ignored when it comes to protection from violence. So this was a step forward, but not a complete solution. So is the fight over or not? No. When black women in America get their rights, when is that going to be? The answer is we're going to get it piece by piece over centuries and still not fully today. Black women had to fight for freedom in 1865, citizenship in 1868, voter rights in 1965, workplace protection 1964, reproductive rights 1973, and protection from violence 1994. And even now, black women are still fighting for equal pay, better health care, and an end to police violence. The work isn't done. So if anybody asks you when black women got their rights, tell them we're still trying to get them. We're still getting it. So what's the takeaway? Yes, we have come a long way, black women, but we have a long ways to go, and we're not going to give up the fight. We're going to keep building step by step, brick by brick. So if my teaching blesses you, continue to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. Talk to me. What do you think? Do you think that we have made leaps and bounds as black women from 1865 on up to today? And hey, if my videos really bless you, my Venmo is there, and my buy me a coffee is there. Continue to like, share, and subscribe because I love what I'm doing, and I want to be able to give and do more for you, but it takes time to do research as well as to write it up and present it to you, but I love doing it, and I love the fact that you have been engaging and watching. So y'all be blessed. Talk to you soon. Bye.